Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, once again, a warm welcome to the Tourism Students Festival 2020, organized by New Tourism Foundation, the first ever initiative at the national level to focus on education sector on tourism, bringing students in academia into an interface with the industry and the government, with a view to prepare for the challenges for the new normal. And on behalf of New Tourism Foundation, I extend a warm welcome to all our eminent panel members of this session. And ladies and gentlemen, the topic for this session is Small is Beautiful, Mantra for the New Normal. As a step forward, we all know that boutique hotels enjoy a unique position in the hospitality market, while also facing unique obstacles. They have an opportunity to offer guests a one-of-a-kind, high-end experience that stands apart from other options in the market. At the same time, due to their smaller brand presence, it can be challenging to attract guests on a nightly basis. And to begin with the proceedings of this session, may I introduce our eminent panelists. Ms. Akanksha Garg is Director of Export Hotels and Resorts Limited, Gurgaon, is the experienced director with a demonstrated history of working in the hospitality industry. She's skilled in negotiation, business planning, operations management, sales, and market research. Is a strong professional with a BA honors focused in international hospitality and tourism management from IHTTI School of Hotel Management. Our eminent panelist, Mr. Himmat Anand, launched the Tree of the Life Resorts and Hotels in the year 2010, which today operates in 8 locations and 3 more are scheduled for 2020. He recently also launched a dog story, which provides amazing getaways for those traveling with their pets or those who are pet lovers. On the panel, we have Ms. Poonam Tipnis, who is Head Sales at Niramaya Retreats, Core Committee member of Karnataka Tourism Forum since 2014, was the Secretary of Karnataka Tourism Forum till 2019. Has over 22 years of experience in hospitality sales with a strong focus on client servicing. Multilingual professional with a deep understanding of international as well as domestic markets. In her current company, she has played a pivotal role in setting up the sales and reservations channels for Niramaya and identified new markets and market segments from the brand. Our eminent panelists, Ms. Yamuna Achaya. The Achayas are a Kodava family who have been running Gitanjali as a homestay for the past 16 years. The Kodavas are a minority committee from Kodagu district, a martial race with fascinating culture based on ancestor worship. Lovingly built, 30 years ago, Gitanjali has always been a warm, hospitable home for any passing guest. And our distinguished moderator for this session is Ms. Shobha Mohan, is the founder partner of Rare India, the company that has been promoting conservation and community-based tourism with sustainability as a keystone value for tourism and hospitality. She sits on board associations like RTSOI, TTC, AHRI, AHRC, etc., and promotes the idea that sustainable travel is future ready and luxury has to be redefined around parameters that believe in protection and preservation of the planet. And may I now hand over to Ms. Shobha Mohan, our moderator of this session, to carry forward the proceedings. Over to you, ma'am.
Welcome everyone to this episode of Conversations, where we have some of the most experienced small business owners. I should pause at small business and say and elaborate that not all of it is small business, but some of them is also a collection of small businesses put together, which is why the theme of this is small is beautiful. So we have with us Himmat Anand, the CEO of, founder and CEO of Tree of Life Hotels. Then we have Akanksha Garg of Waxpol Resorts and Hotels. Yamuna, of course, from this lovely homestay in Mysore called Gitanjali Farm Stay, and Poonam, the director of sales from Niramaya. So all of them are very well versed. Either they are heading sales and marketing operations like Poonam, or as owners and ideators, and the vision behind operating small hotels or homestays. They have great perspectives, and the last 7 months, each one of them has looked at the pause that we have seen in different ways, and all of them, I think, will agree that more or less it has been a great opportunity to do a lot of things that we haven't been able to do, both professionally and personally. I hint upon the personal bit because when we talk about small is beautiful and about small businesses, these are mostly personal endeavors. I mean, this is powered by passion. This is powered by their own vision and their own, insight into building a business on the beliefs that they have, on the beliefs and on various perspectives from the business, that from the travel industry that they have taken. So each one of them is a character of its is a character and a major player in their own right, and everyone will have a different story to tell. So let's first begin with Yamuna. Yamuna, what we want to hear is a small insight into the homestay, how you created it, and how has it been till now?
We began in 2005, and it's been a wonderful journey. Primarily, I think because it just started very organically. We didn't really plan to do this. It just happened by chance, because we had a French travel agent who came here and liked our space. More importantly, I've always grown up in a plantation background with my parents doing a lot of entertaining. So beginning a homestay was not like, you had to learn what you had to do. It just came very naturally. And since we're a family that loves to entertain and loves people, it happened, like I said, very naturally. So we are located in Mysore at the foot of the Chamundi Hills, and we are a boutique property with just 4 rooms. We've continued that way, although we have quite a lot of space around us, because I think the space and the peace and the green and the quiet is the USP over here. So we're just a stone's throw away from the city, but you feel you're on a farm. My parents and myself began together, but now, in view of their age, I run it entirely on my own. And our main focus is to offer our guests the our Kodava story, our Kodava lifestyle, through our cuisine, through our stories, through our interactions. And it's been successful so far. So again, for us, I think the main thing is offering a very an experience that they're not going to be getting anywhere else, because we are the passion behind this whole small boutique homestay. And like Shobha said, we have our own stories to tell, and hopefully they leave with this memory of us, the real India that we are also part of. And they probably, many of them, especially the Westerners, don't know about. Currently, I'd say that the one thing I'm really, really happy about that we've been focusing on from the beginning is the responsible and sustainable tourism, which has become like fashionable now, but which has been a passion for the family from day one. So the last 6 months we've been closed, but we've taken it as a challenge, and I think some nice things have come out of it. One of them being that initially guests would dine within our home. So we have 3 units on our property. One is our home, one is my parents' home, and one is the guest area. So guests would come into our home. It's a large open space to dine. But we have this beautiful gazebo with beautiful gardens that my mother maintains. So now we've made that the dining area. We're able to social distance beautifully, and that's our current USP, because our guests are enjoying dining out in the open.
Outside in the open, yes.
So much, yeah. Which earlier we do for groups. There are no groups, so this is
great. Thank you so much, Yamuna. That is, I mean, that you started, and it is to tell the Kodava story. That is what people kind of take away from them, from when they stay with homes like this, right? And I always maintain that everyone, especially with homestays and small boutique hotels, the stamp of character and interests and values of the family is always there, which is why no two homestays are the same, no two boutique hotels are the same. Himmat, over to you. You actually made, you probably are one of the pioneers in making this small boutique hotels into a formidable collection under the Tree of Life banner. So something about Tree of Life and what your vision was, and how is it evolving going further, because there are a couple of things that you have added to the original story.
Thank you, Shobha. I must begin by saying I'm really kicked being in this panel, because in this usually male-dominated industry, on this, I'm the only guy with 4 lovely ladies to interact with. I think for me, this is a first, actually. In all these years, this never happened. Yeah. First time ever. First time ever. Yeah. So yeah, small is beautiful. And I've always been questioned, is it profitable? And I always maintain that small is beautiful and small is profitable also. Of course, profit means different things to different people. But there is a misconception in the market that small is usually not profitable. I think that's something which we sort of need to change, that perception that small is a struggle and small cannot make money. I was in tourism all my life, 25, 30 years in inbound tourism. And I knew many, many years back that I will create one small little place for myself, which I will run. And that happened in 2007 when I started building the Tree of Life in Jaipur. So we launched in 2010. Somewhere there. And it was actually supposed to be just this one. And what I must mention here is that the model or the concept which I sort of started out on, I was dissuaded by everybody I knew, because it was 7 acres of land and it was only 14 villas. I was 15 kilometers outside the city. Each villa was about 900 square feet, some with their private pools, all with private spas, etc., etc. And 10 years back, they said, this is disaster in the making, you will pack up. But I just plodded on, irrespective of, I listened to everybody, or rather I heard everybody, I listened only to myself. And I'm glad I did so, because I had 2 non-negotiables at that time. And I knew that going down line, space and privacy will become the luxuries of the future. And this is what I really planned 10 years ago, that the traveler in future will require space and he will require privacy. And I think that has come true to a very large extent. I won't mention the 4-letter word which I've been asked not to use, but this whole scenario which happened in the last 5 months hasn't really changed things for us, because when we started, we never did buffets. Social distancing came naturally to us. We were only 10, 12, 14 keys in such large spaces. So what is today being termed as required is something the Tree of Life has grown with. My life changed 4 years down the line when I opened in 2014, when my son Akhil sort of came more actively, and that generation wanted to do more. His viewpoint was, Dad, you had your vision of 1, my vision is of more. So Tree of Life became from 1 to 2 to 4, and now we are at 8 hotels today. I must admit, I have taken the back seat, and my understanding with my son was that he will drive the front and I will be at the background, because our visions were different. And that's what's happened today. So he's really driving the business. We've stayed small in spirit. The smallest property I have is 11 keys, and the largest is 18 keys. And 20 to 22 keys is my Lakshman Rekha. The tree of life will never go beyond that. We've also stayed small in the size of our business. In 10 years, we are only 8 hotels. I could have easily been 20 hotels. That is not the aspiration. I think we're very selective in what we do at the pace we want to grow at. And we are happy growing at a slow pace because we don't want to become 20, 30, 40 properties under a brand. I realized when I gave up running the Tree of Life on my own, I must admit, a lot of things which we did then, we don't do today. And I think owners who drive their own properties are definitely able to deliver a much closer and a much higher standard of service than when you become big and spread it out. So that's the price we pay for expansion. Not that we're not delivering, but I think when I was just one unit, I delivered so much better than I'm able to deliver today. But we knowingly went into this expansion. So there we are with the Tree of Life 10 years down the line. I have another brand which is called Intimate Moments. And Intimate Moments is about celebrating small celebrations, birthdays, small weddings, anything to do with small comes under Intimate Moments. 8 months back, I also launched a dog story. A dog story is small accommodations available for people traveling only with their pet. So it's a revolt against accommodations which say pets not allowed. I said, okay, I'll start a brand where only pets can stay and you can stay with us only if you're traveling with a pet. So we've got 2 dog stories right now, and the third one will open shortly. And the 4th brand we launched was Ojus, which was about 8 months back. And Ojus was supposed to be small group travel, 8 to 10 people based around our hotels. Of course, we've shelved that for now, and we'll probably reactivate Ojus sometime middle of next year. So that's our little story in the last 10 years.
That's brilliant. I actually, I mean, even when I asked the question that from a Tree of Life, what are the other things that have that you've been managed to expand into? I really didn't know there were 2. I only knew the dog story, and it's great to know that Intimate. And the beautiful thing about it is all of this, all of this kind of joins together. I mean, it leads to one another, and each of the business supports the other. That's really brilliant, Himmat. That's really brilliant.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, Poonam, over to you now. You've been with Niramaya, the brand Niramaya, with all their assets in South and now venturing into the North. How have you seen that vision? I can't hear you. Sorry. Poonam, yeah, you're muted on both. Yeah. Yeah, so Poonam, basically, when we started, you and I have worked together. When we started, it was just Surya Samudra, the brand came in, and then it became Niramaya Surya Samudra. Tekadi came in, and then of course now, your brand
now
is
we have 7 properties across India.
Yes. Yeah. So go ahead and tell us the brand story.
So Niramaya, the word itself means a sense of well-being. So that pretty much has been our basic tenet towards what we offer all our guests. And what we've done is we've crafted secluded properties in the middle of nowhere. So little private hideaways, if you please. There are 3 properties in Kerala. One is in Kovalam, which is by the sea. One is in Kumarakam, which is in front of Lake Vembanad. And the third one in Kerala is in Thekkady, which is in the middle of the Periyar forests. So we celebrate the destination that we are in, and that's what we want to introduce to everybody who comes and visits us. And then as you come a little upwards, we have our private residences in Goa at Binolim Beach. We have an eco resort in Hesarghatta in Bangalore. We have a fantastic hillside property in Kohima in Nagaland. And now we're opening one in Solan in the hills of Himachal, where I am right now. So you can see it right behind me. And you have clean, crisp mountain air. So whereas everybody has had the concept of luxury in terms of opulence and room amenities, we've always had the concept of luxury as clean and fresh air, lots of space, great food. So gastronomical journeys is what we promise. And of course, immersion into the culture where we are. So that's what we promise everybody who comes to us, with the help of wellness. Because we realize that when you take a vacation, you're not really, you are looking at relaxing and rejuvenating. But a lot of times we end up indulging so much into excesses during our vacation that we have to take a vacation to recover from a vacation. So, and that's pretty much a wasted effort. So every guest who comes and stays with us, we look forward to making it an enriching experience for them, making sure that they have one step towards a healthy and happy life whenever they are with us. So private hideaways are the next thing. Like Himmat was saying, seclusion and serenity is definitely the new luxury, and wellness is the new leisure.
And the private jet to take you to all these places.
Yes, of course. Well, if it's serious luxury you're talking about, we have that as well. So indulge away.
Yeah. Thank you, Poonam. Akanksha, over to you now. As we are talking, in fact, most of the destinations that, Himmat has spoken about, or Yamuna's, the Gitanjali homestay that Yamuna runs, and also the Suri Samudra, the resorts and retreats of Niramaya hotels, are quite in well-known areas. Now, you have places that are not so well-known, and I know, yeah, I can see you now. So your hotels are in places that are not so well known. Yet you have managed to create a niche and a very responsible properties in places in the Far East.
Thank you so much, Shobha.
Let us have your brand story. Yeah.
Yeah. So Shobha, it all started when I was a young child traveling with my parents. I come from a family of wildlife enthusiasts. So if it meant going for a holiday, it always meant going to the wilderness or to national parks. And it meant staying in dark bungalows, the old forest lodges. And what we saw there was that everything was very minimalistic. You had to carry your food, you had to carry your sheets, because they were typically dark bungalows managed by forest rangers. And with that concept, as we were growing up, some of the national parks, of course, became out of bound because of local element issues and so on. So we started going to Sundarbans, which was at that time a 12 hours journey from Calcutta. That entailed a 6-hour, 7-hour sometimes road journey, another 6-hour by boat. But we used to go there every weekend. Like if you would say that Friday night was a holiday, Saturday morning we would be leaving for Sundarbans, by the evening we would reach, Sunday we would spend there, Monday of course miss school and come back. So it was very important for the family to be in nature. And that's where the story of Sundarban Tiger Camp, which was our first property, began. So in 2001, we started going to Sundarbans, and we saw that, the accommodation at the lodge in the forest was very basic, very minimalistic. They didn't have safety, sanitization protocols in place, and we were going very regularly. So we decided to pick up a piece of land and build a small home for ourselves. With time, we saw there were tourists who were coming, and they started coming and asking us, can we please stay with you? Your place looks safer, it looks better. So we, of course, we always welcome guests, our Indian culture, Atithi Deva Bhava. So we were like, fine, of course. But then it became a regular feature. And then we decided, fine, if people are coming and they want to experience the Sundarbans, why not develop this into a small camp? That's why it was Sundarban Tiger Camp. It was Swiss tented accommodation. What the concept is picking up today, we did it back in 2002, 2003. So we opened as the first and till date only private resort in the Sundarbans. And with time, of course, I went to get educated. I studied hospitality, went to Switzerland, understood what hospitality and service, everything meant, came back and applied all that education back in that small camp and turned it over the years into a resort. What we'll find very surprising, Shobha, is in 2007, we were already featured in Travel and Leisure when we didn't do any marketing effort. It was all word of mouth. And because of the initiative which we had taken, the government really supported us and actually helped in developing bridges to make the road journey shorter. what was one a halfway highway actually became to 1.5 way. So you literally were on half the road and half of the mud banks, and you're driving to Sundarbans. So that journey today takes you 2.5 hours, and that boat journey, which was taking you approximately 6 hours, because of the upgradation. What I'll be very proud to tell you is, the boats in Sundarbans are very low, very basic. And the boats which you see in Sundarbans today were actually our design, which we got commissioned in Calcutta back in 2004. So today, all the boats in Sundarbans are actually much bigger. They are much higher. They are safer to travel. They have a toilet on the boat, which was not there earlier. Earlier, it used to be open air toilets. So, the design has been adopted by the local communities. And that area has developed from once, which was supposed to be a place of bandits, poaching, swamp tigers, a lot of myth about tigers are going to come and eat you up, to today about how they are the protectors of the forest. And today, how fishermen who are only going illegally into the park are actually the ones who get affected by any calamity as such. So today, what has happened is we have become the heroes of the place. The children are going to school. The ladies are not in the neck-deep water doing prawn fry catching. They're actually doing batik work. They are involved in rowing fish boats. They're doing household work. They're actually employed lodges as well. So, the whole community has got uplifted. And I think that what brings great happiness is that, the children today are getting educated. Earlier, we were worried about brain drain happening, them going to the cities to work. But today, they understand the value of the culture and community, and actually coming back to work at lodges like us to give back. So, what started as a small model, a resort which is actually spread over 9 acres of land, and we just have 21 rooms. There is no groundwater there. There is no electricity there. We've been completely dependent on solar power, biofuel, genset runs, and of course, rainwater harvesting. Till date, we have our own filtration plant. So it was very challenging, a lot of learning. Initially, the construction which we did was all wooden, very eco. And we actually used recycled sal wood from a fishing boat to construct the property. But we realized that the elements in Sundarbans are very challenging. So, all that learning that we had in place, so that actually helped us in developing a beautiful ecosystem where all these people are involved, the staff is all local. So when the guests are coming, they actually get to be in naturally distant spaces. They're already spread around. All our dining is in the outdoor. Everything was earlier contactless because, people were local. So we used to take all the information beforehand anyway in Calcutta. We didn't have internet connectivity till a year back. So, it was quite challenging. We actually had walkie-talkies to communicate from Calcutta to the Sundarbans for every single provision. And today it's completely it's one of the best places to be in. We have a luxury boat called the MV Oceanus, where we have rooms, we have day cruises. You actually get to go and experience. It's one of the only parks in India where you get to be inside the park from morning to evening. And every single part of the park is different because of the salinity level. So it's very diverse. And what makes us very happy is, like Himmat said earlier, it does not mean that small is not profitable. It's very important to understand that what are you catering to. For us, we want to bring the people, the locals, the outside, the clients from abroad to come and experience what Sundarbans has to offers you, right? Similarly, that journey led us to developing duars. Again, very offbeat. When we went there was only a jungle lodge which was promoting Gorumara National Park. Everybody talks about Kaziranga, but no one really knows about Gorumara, which is known for the one-horned rhinoceros, for elephants, for clouded leopard sightings. It is actually very popular in London for bird sightings. We have a lot of birding groups coming in, and it's a fantastic stopover for people trying to drive down from Gangtok or from Siliguri to Funchling and drive into Bhutan. So that was something, again, for, sorry.
So go ahead, yeah.
Yeah. So in Duas, what we have done is we have 25 acres of land, and we've actually developed a water body which we call the migratory bird pond, which is approximately 3 feet deep, and we have our own migratory birds coming in. We have a small tea garden which was initially a part of the property, so a lot of tea gardeners come within the property to do the plugging. We have a lot of fruit trees in all our resorts, but they're not for tourists or guests. They're all for the wildlife. So that this is something that we believe, as a family, like this is something my parents have taught me that, if you have fruit trees, you can consume as much as you want. Why don't you support the local community by purchasing from them, encouraging them, building a local supply system? And that's what we've done. And today we have 12 rooms there. We have a small swimming pool, which is of course recycled rainwater. We have a garden. All the amenities are for guest use who are staying in house. So it's very discreet. It's very intimate. It's very laid out, and you can see a Kanchenjunga peak on a clear morning sky. So this is something we developed by 2008-9, and in 13 was very proud when Madhya Pradesh government told me that Akanksha, we want you to come and invest in Madhya Pradesh, and I was like, okay, seems scary. No one's spoken about Madhya Pradesh, and I think the only thing I know about it is Mowgli, the Jungle Book.
Yeah.
So
you started the property in Paint. Yeah. So now that you're talking, we started to talk about the locations of places. Himmat, all your properties are set outside of say a popular destination. Like Tree of Life Jaipur is 15 kilometers outside of Jaipur, and Varanasi is also not in the usual locational advantage that it is. How do you? How was it for you to be promoting a place that's not in its usual locational advantage? How did you manage that?
Right. So 10 years back or 11 years back when we started, again, one of the non-negotiables we had was that we will always be out of the city centers.
Correct.
Let's face it, our city centers are honestly not the best of places to be in. Look at traffic, look at pollution. Where can you walk around today in the evenings? Those days are gone. 15, 20 years back, yes, I agree. You had opportunities to walk around. Today, no more, and it's only going to get worse. So 10 years back, we decided that we will always be 10, 12, 14 kilometers away from the city, but still within 20, 25 minutes of driving distance. And that really is for the space which we provide. Guests don't really mind that drive. The domestic market which comes to us mostly don't want to go sightseeing. They stay put in the property for 2 nights, 3 nights. They will probably go out for half a day and come back. But I think the space and the facilities we give them in-house is what they really enjoy being with us. I had challenges when I started the Tree of Life Jaipur, especially with the inbound business. Because 10 years back, everybody wanted to be in the city. And the strange part was when I spoke to the foreign operators, they understood what our viewpoint was. The operators sitting in India, who were my main contacts, did not understand this, or they were hesitant. They understood it, but they always had this fear at the back of their mind that being out of the city will not be accepted. I'm glad we stood with this, and even today with all our properties which we have today and all going in the future, like for example, we're opening Dehradun end of this month. But it's not Dehradun, it's Dehradun foothills. I'm again 7-8 kilometers away from there in the direction of Mussoorie on the foothills of the mountains. So even in a place like Dehradun, the Tree of Life brand stands to what it started out with 10 years ago. And that's what we will keep in all cities. So I think today we are in a much more comfortable position from the point of acceptance than it was when I started 10 years ago. Agra, we are starting to build next month. There again, I'm 8 kilometers, 10 kilometers away from the city in a village area. So yeah, I think, Shobha, we are going to stay with that.
Yes.
It has its challenges when you begin, but I believe if you are convinced about what you're doing long term, I think it pays off at the end of it.
Also, because you have set out to create an experience, rather than stay here and go and see something you create. And I know a Tree of Life Jaipur especially started to get minimum 3-night bookings, if my memory serves me right. So I think the focus was that you created an experience first.
Right. Yes. Yeah, I think those days of selling rooms are over now.
Yes, yeah.
Like all of us do in our own businesses, I don't think you need to sell rooms anymore because that is really passé. I think let the international brands with 100, 200 room properties sell rooms. We guys in the smaller space, I think we would rather sell experiences. We would rather create what we do and offer those to our guests.
Absolutely, absolutely. Poonam, over to you. This, if, you know, the Niramaya properties are set in very popular destinations, right? And Surya Samudra,
Yes.
I think, was one of the first properties on the beach. I mean, was one among the first ones to have started on the beach side by the Kovalam beach. So it was associated with Kovalam. But all the other properties, whether it's Goa or something, or Goa or Tekadi, or even Kumarakam, these are popular places, which means you are up against a lot of there's a lot of competition you are in, right?
Yes.
So what is that one thing about the Niramaya brand that sets you apart, that helps you promote yourself strongly?
So as a brand, we were never really keen on entering the number of rooms or number of keys game. So like most of the other panelists mentioned, it was all about giving people the space. So large spaces of land and very few rooms. So that is something that set us apart initially. Well, as a business, it perhaps does not make sense at times. But then again, when you look at the overall experience that you give to your guests, it is totally worth it at the end of the day. So what sets us apart as compared to the other people in our destination is the personal touch that we tend to give everybody. Our staff to guest ratio is at an all-time high, more than most of the luxury hotels across the globe. So that is something that is distinctly different. In addition to that, for us, guests are not room numbers. They are individuals in their own right. So even the rooms that we have are not numbered, they are named. And they're named specifically either with in the name of the tree that grows nearby or the bird or something which is very endemic to that region. So then again, there is a connect that the guest has with the property. And we always believe in paying it forward. And that's what our guests also support us big time. So every time a guest comes to Niramaya, we request them to leave a legacy, and we give them with a plant that they take care of while they're staying with us. And while they leave, they plant it in our property with us. So they leave a little bit of their legacy behind. And it's always a great thing when they come back to us and see how it's grown and flourished under our babysitting. So that's something that puts us apart from the other competition or the other hotels.
Yeah, then when the overriding brand began, Niramaya, right, it was supposed to hint at something which became central to your brand, right?
Yes.
Okay. So the Niramaya wellness is the core, then it
Yes.
became your core principle.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. Great. Yamuna, over to you now. Where small properties are concerned, especially when they are a homestay, it's a part of your home you're going to be sharing with your guests. So what is the design principle that you follow? I know it shouldn't be too personal, not having your own personal things. At the same time, you don't want it to look like a hotel room, right? It's a very fine line, trying to make it very personal and very, very Gitanjali Farms type, or having the stamp of your own personal interests and values onto your room. At the same time, you don't want to make it having your personal amenities around or a photograph. How did you manage that, and how do your rooms reflect your interests and your regions, and the culture of your region in particular?
I think since I have a plantation background, I grew up on the tea plantations, and our family has a coffee plantation in Coorg. So when we built our home, my parents' home, they've lived here for 35 years now. It was sort of long and low plantation style bungalow with rambling gardens and wonderful childhood memories. So when we did our rooms, we built it on the same principle of, I'd say homely, comfortable, with all the basic comforts that one needs. And it has this big garden in front of it. So my parents' home has one garden, the guest area is separate and has another garden, and there's my home. So we're 3 units, each with gardens in front. So the design principle, so between my mother and myself and the homes we've lived in and our ancestral home, we got the plantation feel. We wanted our guests to have that large veranda and loungy chairs and coffee on the veranda, which is the way, we live.
It is in plantations.
It is in the plantations. And my husband, who's Parsi, and who, again, they lived in the old railway houses. So they had this sprawling kind of old bungalow feel.
Yeah.
So these rooms were done with all that in mind. And as I had mentioned earlier, the one thing that we have been very sensitive about is the environment. So, even 30 years ago, before we started this business, we very strictly followed segregation of the garbage and all the basic stuff.
Yeah.
But in the past, I'd say several years, what I'm very, very proud of is that we generate about 1 million liters of water through our rainwater harvesting. And that gives us the option to have a guilt-free garden and lawns and 0 pesticide use. So all this is part of our family, the family ethos that we've managed to incorporate into the homestay.
But this was built as a home, right? You built this as a home. Yeah.
First was my
and you decorate. And you decorated like you would decorate your home.
Exactly. So we were actually
and you kept it that way.
Yeah. We started very small and parents' house there, and then we did the separate unit of the guest rooms once we realized people liked what we were offering. And then we have our separate house. So it's still that, they have their total privacy and we're there. We meet up in the evenings, but when nobody's in anyone's face, so to speak.
Absolutely.
So the design elements, like you said, they're just simple and cozy and homey, but the environmental impact is something that we have focused on very, very majorly. We've put in a lot of time, effort, and money into that aspect.
Great, good to know. And I also, you started Gitanjali Farm Stay in 2007?
5.
2005. Okay, it's a long time. And you plan to keep it to 4 rooms only. You're not adding more rooms.
Yes, the big challenge that we face is because my parents live on the property. We live on the property. I think anything more would be a challenge in terms of everybody's space, personal space.
Correct. Yeah, that's true. So like Himmat and Akanksha mentioned, does it make money? I mean, just to put it out bluntly, do you make a profit?
So yes, we've been managing to. The initial years were
tough,
very difficult.
Understandable,
Yes. But then over the years, it's built up. The other challenge has also been is because of our FIT season, and in the non-FIT season, we were not focusing on the domestic much. But that we've started to do now. So,
absolutely, great. Yeah, that gives me a good point to start on the domestic market, right? All of you here, and I know from the beginning, Himmat, you were always, you always wanted to focus on the domestic market. And Akanksha, I know you, your marketing principle was also to include the domestic travelers into your thing. So this period that we are in shouldn't come as it shouldn't be very difficult for you, right? Because you have had a strategy for the domestic market.
So, thank you, Shobha. Yes, we've had a strategy in place for the domestic market. So, yes, to be honest, Sundarbans was more of an inbound place. There are a lot of local competitors which sell at a cheaper price. And of course, the domestic market prefers to pay less than more. And because we are more of an experienced hotel, honestly, we generally work with the local community. So we have a lot of example, like, Yugabrata?
Just a minute. Thank you. Okay. Yeah, go ahead, Akanksha. We'll cut this off. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, like you mentioned, Shobha, we have been catering to the domestic market. That was the idea initially, also to start the property so that people can go and experience these offbeat locations, right? But the challenge has been that over the years there has been a mushroom growth of a lot of small properties who come and sell at very differential prices. We have a constant pricing policy throughout the year. We don't increase our rates, we don't decrease them. We have a flat pricing policy.
There's no seasonal rate. There's no high season, low season, shoulder season, no rate variation like that. Okay, that's good to know. Yeah.
Not at all, because we are giving you a consistent quality of service, and we are giving you consistent experiences.
Yeah, so, and they can go into the Sundarbans Park at any in any time of the year, even the monsoons.
Yeah, Sundarban is open 365 days. You can go from morning to sunrise to sunset throughout.
Even in the monsoons.
Even in the monsoons. Yeah. And similarly with Pench as well, we don't shut our property during the monsoon months because we want people to come and experience what. So for example, when you have the first shower, it's actually the best time to go and see the scorpions. Then you have the Maua collection going on. For birding, it's amazing to be there. So we want to focus on these small things which are seasonal. And that, unfortunately, of course, Indian market was not that sensitive to nature earlier. But with people who are becoming conscious about nature, understanding what responsible travel is understanding that nature, it does not mean that, you can only go in the summer months or the winter months. It's an all year-round destination. It has helped us promote. Definitely.
That's very interesting that you keep Pench open when the park is closed.
Yes.
And at the same price.
At the same price.
So, I mean, just out of interest, what's your percentage of inbound versus domestic, Akanksha?
So for Sundarbans, we were actually at 70% for inbound and 30% domestic. Duas as well is around 45% inbound, 55 domestic. Pench, we recently started marketing to the inbound market, and we are doing around 35% inbound and 65 domestic.
Oh, fabulous, fantastic.
And just to add on, Shobha, what we've also done, which is very interesting, is that we've added caravans in Pench. So if people want to travel from Pench to Kana, there's a luxury.
You can take the caravan. Fantastic.
You take the caravan. Yeah. And there's a small, a small home with 4 rooms in the middle of a forest where actually we promote cycling tours, bird watching, and it's a fantastic place to go and see the wolves.
Fantastic. So, this is also open throughout the year.
This is also open throughout the year. Yeah.
So Himmat, this is our favorite conversation. I know how many times you and I spoke about the domestic market. And so you are just right there. I mean, it is the boom of the domestic market, and you've really worked very hard there. And how is it going?
So Shobha, when I started the Tree of Life, I came from an inbound space for 25 years. And quite obviously, Jaipur, the initial focus was, I must admit, on the inbound segment, because I came from that territory, so to say. And we had about 70-75% of our business when I started in 2010 used to be inbound, and the balance 20-25% used to be domestic. 3 years down the line, we realized that it's now become a mix of about 50%, 55% inbound and about 45% domestic. That became the mix for us. Can you hear me, Shobha? Because I seem to have lost you.
Yeah, I can hear you. I can
okay.
Hear you. Yeah.
Right. And at that time, it was one property, so I think one could afford to be a little bit more choosy. When we expanded, we realized that we need to sort of get more into the domestic business. And some properties by default actually were domestic oriented. For example, the property in Binsar, which we run, that is about 95% is domestic, 5% is really inbound, and even lesser probably. So yeah, we are in that very comfortable space now. And I must say, July, August, September has taken us by huge surprise. In Jaipur, we've done ARRs of about 10,200, 10,800 for the month of July, August. which I never did in 10 years of having Tree of Life Jaipur. We've done an occupancy ranging between 72 and 78% in these difficult times.
Fantastic.
So and this is like 100% domestic. There is no inbound right now.
Absolutely.
Right? And I think Tree of Life was very nicely positioned because being small, being away from city centers, being within driving distances of the source market, that is what has happened. Dealing with the domestic market is a nightmare. I don't deny that. This Atiti Devo Bhava is taken to one extreme by us people who think we bought the property for one night or 2 nights when we stay there. That is challenging times. And I must admit, I feel very sorry for my staff at times. Because we as owners can probably get away with things and tell a guest to take a walk. That poor guy who's working downline cannot, right? So I must admit, I am fully behind my staff. I think I support them when there is a difficult situation happening. I honestly am with my staff because I feel I know what they go through when handling this market. But it is a very paying market. They eat well, they drink well, especially the Punjabis of North India, from Delhi, Gurgaon, all of these guys. The billing is amazing there. They just want to be pampered. So yeah, you have to just give it to them. But Shobha, domestic market has always been there for the last so many years. So I don't know why this sudden hoo-ha is happening that, oh, the domestic market is the savior. You've only started now giving it its due recognition.
Absolutely.
As an important segment. It was always there. I think it was more important than inbound in numbers, in terms of turnover, in whatever you say. Domestic always had the upper hand over inbound. While we speak, there's been a very interesting article with Rajiv Kohli today about domestic and inbound. And I'm having a discussion with him on that. But it's just this whole scenario where everything is so focused about inbound. And we tend to forget that it is 900 million plus domestic travelers.
Absolutely.
Only 10% of that,
yes,
which is of value to hotels and travel agents. That's 90 million people traveling in the country of value. What is inbound? They say 10 million. In reality, it's 5 million. So I mean, come on, let's do the maths here. 90 million versus 5 million. Where is the bread buttered? So yeah, I think.
Absolutely. And it's an all-year market. It's
exactly.
an all-year market, yeah. But Himmat, because on the subject of domestic travel, I just wanted to tell you something. We are still, the domestic market or the domestic traveler is still is an evolving traveler. He, he still hasn't got the, but when he goes abroad, and there are checks and put in place, he listens to all of that. It's only in India, I think, that he behaves. So don't you think there is a possibility, and I mean there is a little there is a scope to kind of, I won't say train them, to kind of really motivate them to act differently when they are at resorts, and gently put some rules and regulations in place? Because that's one thing Akanksha would vouch for, because where wildlife is concerned, we've been saying that with the traveler, you have to put some checks and balances, you have to put some benchmarks and say, this is not permissible, you cannot do this.
Yes, I agree. There is a line, there is a Lakshman Rekha which guests should not be allowed to cross. I am with you on that. Am I here to educate them? Yeah, if I was in the wildlife segment or in the adventure segment, I have a responsibility towards all of that. If I'm in a pure leisure destination where his objective is to come, have a good time, eat and drink, we have things like, okay, after 10 o'clock, no loud music. Loud music is anyway not allowed.
That's what
for
I mean.
example,
that's what
you play music lightly in your room, no problem. Outside, not allowed. You can't bring your own alcohol, sit on my pool and start boozing there. Not allowed. So yes, those basics we keep.
Those are the ones I'm talking about.
But then you have a domestic guy who lets his wife wear the sari and get into the pool. And when my staff tells him, sir, that is not allowed, he says, how much will it cost to change the water? I'll pay you for it. 15,000, 20,000, let her be, I'll pay you. So there are two extremes which one has to sort of grapple with in this domestic market. And like I said, it is a very difficult market to operate in. Let's not fool ourselves. So I think those hotels which were in inbound only till now and are now wanting to get into domestic because of the situation, they are going to be in for a culture shock because they will not know what's hit them suddenly,
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you, Himmat. Let's welcome Mr. Yogabrata Kar of Heritage Tours. Welcome, sir. You are mute. You are on mute. If you can. Sir, you are on. Okay. Hello, sir. Good to see you.
Thank you.
Good to see you. So we were on the topic of the domestic travel.
Sorry for being delayed because we have no power, so no internet accordingly.
Okay, okay. So we were on the topic of domestic tourism. I'll come back to you in a moment. I was asking Yamuna of Gitanjali Farm Stay. Yamuna, this is for you. So it's a home, right? Have you had domestic Indian travelers come in? Do you have you had uncomfortable situations with them, having to say stuff?
So we've treaded very, very carefully, Shobha, here. I'd rather do less than more since it's my home specifically.
Okay.
So there is, I mean, I think here one needs to be very clear again about how much you want to do and at what pace. Specifically because it affects us directly.
Yeah, because you're living there, right? It's your
and
home.
My parents are there. And they're getting older now. So it's been a big challenge. We don't do much, but we've started getting guests now. Well, in the past few years, we have had a few domestic guests, and we knew that this was the way to go ahead. It's not that we were not aware of it, but nobody was too keen to take this path for the reasons that Himat mentioned. However, now what I've done is I have drawn up a very nice manual which I send to every guest before they come. It's very detailed. It might, even sound like so many rules, but I also personally call my guests and make it, a little warm and sort of not very clinical. But I'm very clear it's on paper, and there are certain things I will not tolerate.
Brilliant. So, I mean, that's how it should be.
I'd rather, and I always tell them that, look, if you want to party and all, the Radisson is next door, please go.
Go there,
you have other options. So this is my home. Luckily, so far, nearly every guest has wanted what we've offered. And I think
absolutely.
I think we're going to be getting a lot of young people, couples, older people, all ages wanting what we're offering. So
one of the beauties of small, one of the beautiful things about small is beautiful is you can actually mastermind, tune into exactly the frequency that you want a guest, you want from a guest, so that people who value what you value will be your guests and not the, I mean, you can actually filter them, with 4 rooms or 5 rooms. But Poonam, you must be, this must be something that you've been looking at the domestic market for quite some time. And what has been your experience and how is it going forward?
So we had a fair share of Indian guests. Surprisingly, last year, we saw that increasing to quite a sizable number. So although we had a lot of guests coming in from the inbound market, but domestic guests was something that we got a fantastic share of. Well, the good part was they loved the place so much that they continued to come again and again, year on year, either for a leisure or at least to do some wellness. So we've had a good strength of our brand ambassadors, so to speak, who have supported us through the years. Well, like everybody said, it's not something that is, domestic guests are not very easy to please. But at the same time, since we are all Indians, we know what would please us. So we just have to make sure that we follow our heart and put that into our service.
Fantastic. Poonam, I hope that you're not mentioning the sari thing because...
Thankfully, I know in my heart, I don't want to do that myself.
Yes, I know. Mr. Kar, welcome welcome to this conversation. So if we could just hear about your business for a second, and then you can give your opinion on the whole domestic traveler and the market for domestic tourism.
Well, basically, we started 25 years almost ago as a small tour operator, and still we are small because over the year, our growth has been very organic. Okay. So we are still proud to be small with 5-6 people working and a couple of drivers. So we are a small team of 10 people, but we expanded our area and we started to learn from travelers and traveling myself. And we got focused.
You're based out of?
Orissa, in Puri, a little holy town. Yeah, it's
Yes.
called rich town. We have our office, and we operate basically in rural tourism. This is our main pocket where we do tribal, ethnic, mostly cultural-based tourism we do. And we do Orissa, West Bengal, Chhattisgarh, and part of Assam, and this kind of thing. Even to some extent Gujarat and stuff. Because we work mostly inbound, yeah.
And you have both inbound to you have inbound travelers as well as the domestic.
Yeah, basically we are more focused with inbound, but we have a project in the tribal area where we have made accommodation also. Like about 10 rooms called Desia Ecotourism, which is one of our dream project. Where we have to experiment how tourism can bring values, empower, and give people a certain kind of experience about real ethnic India. So in particular in the very remote tribal area. So this Desia is about small is beautiful. So we started that Desia with this concept of small to be small, and we hardly had 6 rooms, and now we added just 4 tents. So about 10 we have only.
10.
And 10 people are working there also. And you'll be surprised to know that the highest educated staff of Desia is class 9 pass. And if you read TripAdvisor or any reviews, the Lonely Planet guidebook or everywhere, in Lonely Planet, they have given a box to us. Or in TripAdvisor, we don't have a 4-star rating, all 5-star ratings. And so what I mean to say is like, that is being advantage of being small.
Okay.
Since
that is true. Yeah,
we really can capture our guests very nicely, very deeply, like there's a soul, Atma. So we believe in Atma. So we want to, our staff, crew, whoever, they're tuned into that mindset. So we basically have banging on till Western inbound tourism. But as you said, now the domestic tourism, obviously it's increasing and we are getting some kind of share onto that. But the problem is, we don't have stuff what domestic tourists like. Like we don't have television in our rooms. We don't have air conditioning. We don't have a swimming pool. We don't have room service. We don't have intercom phone. So a whole property, we don't have a single television also. So that's not
right. But that is when you can start promoting experience, isn't it? So
yeah, exactly. That's knowingly we don't have all this. And we really wanted people to be with the people to listen to local music instead of television music like this. So, but domestic tourism, if you talk about, really, I'm very happy to say that we are getting a good response. Sometimes, obviously, we have bad experience when the young people come to drink and have parties and stuff, because these are all local girls and boys run that place, and they are not very comfortable when the young city guys go and do this kind of thing. So we strictly don't take bookings, or we don't take those kind of corporate bookings, or we don't take those kind of bookings which we feel like they are not of our mindset.
Of your mindset, yeah. Fantastic, yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. Kar. Akanksha, to you, we will start on, I mean, we are running out of time. I think I have just one question. This is a quick one because I was very intrigued to know, which I always did, of course, that you'll employ a lot of local people, right, in your hotel. So what would be the percentage, and who you also have a manager, right, for each one of the properties that you have, and then the local staff is trained.
Yeah. So basically, from wherever. Sorry, there's a delay. So basically, Shobha, wherever we have a property, we've actually purchased the land, and we have hired all the previous owners of the land. So most of them, as I mentioned earlier, they were either farmers or fishery or so on. So what we did was, I personally had gone ahead and trained them, and then we got them certified under Hunar Se Rozgar. So I actually tied up with the hotel school like IHMs and had the team go there, stay there for a month, and actually train all the local people, so that even if they're 45, 50 years old, they're actually certified for hospitality training. Similarly, what we do have is 95% of our employees are all locals. That means they are from within 3 kilometers. From
that is brilliant. That is, fantastic.
Is from the city, because he can read, write, do accounting, so on. The naturalists, of course, are local people who can speak the English language, because they're also acquainted with the whereabouts surrounding and they understand the culture. And that is USP. So I can proudly say that even wherever we're expanding, we hire the local people. And I think that's another reason why they also support us in terms of, for example, like in Pench, when we're going to village houses, they actually welcome you in. In Sundarbans also,
because,
the local women, the villagers will come and ask you, can you please come in for having liquor cha? So when I go to the village myself, they all are very happy to see that we are actually giving back to the society, to the local villages and helping in their development.
Absolutely.
And improving
absolutely. And in all your marketing collaterals and in the way you promote your property, is this a big, do you make a big noise about it? Is that a big part of your marketing and your promotional material?
Unfortunately, we wanted to be humble, Shobha, and we never spoke about it much. But for the last 1 year, we've started focusing on what we have been doing. Because, it was always a part of something which I think every organization should do. So we never thought, you need to be out there. But yeah, we are talking about it now. And I think
we are talking. I mean, because when it helps in marketing or promoting a particular property, because when a tour operator especially is choosing one hotel to the other, some of these elements I think would be perfectly. These will be perfectly highlighted to say we are using this property instead of that, even if it is like say 20% more expensive, because these they adhere to these principles of responsible tourism, for instance, right? Yeah, Himmat, I know cuisine is a very important part of all your individual hotel stories, right? And I know you did a lot of work where cuisine was concerned.
Well, yes and no, I must honestly admit. We started with a huge focus on cuisine.
Yes.
When we started Jaipur. And as we grew somewhere down the line, that didn't become our focus anymore. I think other priorities took over. So, and we also realized that, when you're opening in places, let us say like in Udaipur or a Dehradun or whatever, there is only that much you can play around with cuisine. I mean, Udaipur and Jaipur, everybody will do the lal mas, everybody will do the dal bati churma, and that's the regular stuff you can do. And we do that. Having said that, now that we are seeing that more and more the domestic market is becoming important for us, and you've got the domestic market from the larger metro cities which are actually coming to us, where cuisine has taken really another form and shape in the Delhis, Mumbais, Bangalore's. Today, it's an amazing level happening. So we are now in the process of actually revamping our menus completely, not to lose the originality of the location we are in, but I think to make it more broad-based. I think the presentation has to become not more fancier, but it has to become more in line with what city expectations are, because today city expectations for food are pretty high. And presentation is, unfortunately, in my opinion, playing a larger role than the taste of the food. The drama which is going on in the food business is amazing in terms of presentation and what you do. So yes, we are conscious of that. And I think by next year, we will have more of a focus back on food.
Fantastic. And this is the switch that, the little understanding or the evolution in the last 7 months to refocus back on the cuisine. Could we term it like that, Himmat?
No, I wouldn't attribute it to the last 7 months. I think we did a lot more than this. This has been at the back of our mind for the last 2 years, actually. Okay. We've just been lazy about it, I must admit, and we've just been busy with other stuff. But I think now time has come to give it the importance it deserves.
It deserves, yeah.
And we will get back to this soon now. Yeah.
Fantastic. Yamuna, because it's a homestay, the kind of food that you would be serving would probably be right from the kitchen, right from your personal kitchens, right? And
so there again, we do typical Kodava food, which is like really popular. Yeah. And then we throw in a little bit of Western and the local Karnataka village kind of
cuisine, yeah.
What the local Kannadigas eat, basically.
Yeah.
The other thing is, because we're such a small setup, it's, we can be really personal with the guests. Like,
correct, yeah.
Tailor make it for what they want, depending on how much they've traveled or what they really want to have. But we don't make it complicated. We just cook from the heart what we know best. So it's not, yeah. And
but it's largely home cooking. I mean, it's
home
it's home cooking.
And
Yeah,
the
yeah.
focus is all
And I know it's hugely appreciated. I know from the people I've met who've stayed with you, they just love it. Do you get people who like cuisine writers or people who are like chefs and things like that?
We've had a few. Yeah, we've had a few over the years. And like I said, it's then we just deal with what we know best,
Absolutely.
our own cuisine, because we know it inside out. And
Absolutely.
the Kannadiga, the local food is also pretty
amazing.
nice.
Yes, yes. Yeah.
So they love all this ragi roti and, typically what people like here, rice roti and ragi roti and that kind of thing. And of course, when they're waiting for a little bit of continental, all that gets done. But we don't make it a very, within our repertoire, we do the maximum we can. Yeah. The focus is on fresh, organic. That's the focus.
Fresh and organic, yeah. Poonam, just one quick question to you, because you are so focused on wellness. Is your cuisine, does it match up? Does it, is it refined to cater to your treatments?
Yes, we believe that diet is a very, very important part of wellness. And we all know the saying, we are what we eat. So there is a whole range of Ayurvedic food that we offer. But at the same time, our chefs continue to experiment to make it more tasty. And we want to break the myth that tasty cannot be healthy or healthy cannot be tasty.
Yeah.
So we are working a lot towards a lot of experimentation. So you get fulkas made out of jackfruit flour. You can have jackfruit cheesecake if that's what the doctor allows you to have. We use a lot of jaggery in our sweets, so people don't have to let go of sweets altogether. So we try and incorporate a lot of interesting food, millets and everything, to make sure it's nice and tasty and not just boring, which is one of the reasons why people refuse to follow a healthy diet. And of course, Ayurveda propagates sattvic food. So that's something that we do. We try and grow most of the vegetables ourselves. So there is a very less dependence on trying to figure out whether we're getting organic stuff or not, because here we grow it ourselves. We have our own cattle. So the milk and the milk items also are from our own cow sheds. So that's something that assures them of great quality and great taste. And of course, if the spouses are not too keen on joining their partners in their quest for wellness, we have the regular food available for them as well.
For them, yeah. Good. Yeah, thank you, Poonam. That was very insightful. Mr. Kard, a question to you. So for your travelers, what would be a typical Orissa that they would be able to see when you're curating an itinerary?
Well, it depends.
By this question, I want to know: would you, when you're curating an itinerary, would you focus and try and use as many small boutique hotels in your itinerary or not? That's my question.
Yeah, absolutely. We are mostly focused on small boutique hotels, homestays, and more unique properties than large hotels and stuff. And as I said, my more focus is people. So always our tour is more focused where you can meet life, where you can meet festivals, where you can meet daily day-to-day activities of life. So we are more onto the real lifetime experience than showing them a monument and value. Of course, when you are in Puri, we take you to the Fisher Village. At the same time, we also take you to the Konark, which is not our priority, because Konark, the guests can go themselves. So our focus is more to have a meal with a fisherman in his house. Okay. So these are our concept is more with the locals, to being with local, to give a local ethnic experience. For example, we organize a night sweet tour. In Puri, we take people in a cycle rickshaw to different sweet shops in the night, like a desert tour. I say when you go to the tribal area, we focus local tribal food. For example, in our camp, we have obviously focusing on bamboo shoots and millets and all these things. But of course, we also keep a plan B. For example, in sometimes the foreign tourists, I guess, they don't like a millet porridge in the breakfast. So we have a muesli as a substitute. Absolutely. But we also offer them millet porridge. So this is our choice. Always we give them the local ethnic touch, whatever possible, and most people appreciate it.
And there are enough homestays and boutique hotels in Orissa now to form a full itinerary.
Yeah, why not? I don't think the boutique hotels are there, but beautiful homestays are there, and also a couple of old palaces are there.
Yeah, that
they have done very good, renovated, and like 5-room, 6-room properties, and some small good hotels like Mayfair Group. Mayfair is also one of the very boutique kind of hotel where I have my office. I started my office in Puri, Mayfair, since they started property in Puri. So I grew up with them only. Yeah.
Okay. Fantastic. Okay, we are all running out of time. One very important and question, because this is essentially, it was great chatting. I mean, it's great insights, good conversation. At the end of it, this is all meant as experience and study material for students. So we'd like to end by asking each one of you, what is the advice you would like to give young students as they venture into the tourism and hospitality industry? Himmat, I'll go with you.
Right. I'll just say two things. This younger generation which is passing out is always looking for instant gratification in everything they do. Forget it. The real world is not like that. You will not get instant gratification there. You have to bide your time. You have to be patient and you have to wait. Number one. Number two, these people are going to come this year and the next year in a very, very difficult scenario. I'm not trying to scare. I'm just trying to show the picture as it is. You will come into a world which is anyway usually ruthless, but now made more ruthless by the events of the last 5-6 months. Don't lose hope. Don't get dissuaded by what you see, because hopefully by 2022, it's all going to come back far better than anybody can expect. I think all that pent-up demand and whatever, 2022, 23, I think that's the time when it'll happen. So yeah, please be patient for the next 1 year when you come into the real world.
Thank you, Himmat. That was, I think that was a very, very valid advice. They are going to come into a very, very difficult scenario. Yamuna, what would your advice be to the young men and women who are venturing into travel and hospitality?
I think, of course, the passion and the vision, most importantly. And I always think that the one value that is very important in hospitality is the warmth and the, not the artificiality, just
the genuine, yeah.
You need to like people, you need to show it, you need to just do it from the heart, and it never fails.
Absolutely.
That the old-fashioned values, I think, hold good, particularly for the newer generation, even if it's tailored to suit whatever they believe in. I think that a bit of the old and a bit of the new.
The new, absolutely. Akanksha, you are still in the young ladies and gentlemen kind of generation, but you have a lot of experience backing you. What would your advice be?
Thank you, Shobha. So one thing I would like to tell all the students here is it's all about perseverance, being passionate and learning. Everything will not go perfect, but it's about understanding from the more experienced and going on, just moving on and take every challenge as a learning curve. That's all I would like to say. Thank you, Shobha.
Fantastic, fantastic. And Poonam, you have a note from you. I know she's one of the most positive people I've ever met in my life. She's like, go ahead, Poonam.
Well, I feel as if I've just gotten out of college myself, but I realized when I checked the date that it's been more than 2 decades now. So, and it's been an exciting journey. It's just been very fascinating. All of you students have gotten into an industry which is extremely exciting. It has a world of opportunities. And just remember one thing, that every journey begins with the first step. So it's all about taking one step at a time in the right direction. And like my colleagues were saying, hospitality is a way of life. It is not something that you swipe in and swipe out or check in and check out. So live the hospitality life, and the life does not seem like a chore anymore. It just seems like a fantastic journey ahead. Enjoy it.
Thank you, Poonam. Thank you so much. Finally, Mr. Carr, what would your advice be to the young students?
My advice will be just take a break here. You finish your study and start traveling for 1 year. Travel this beautiful country from north to south, east to west in a sleeper class train. Stay in cheap homestays or dharmasalas, gurudwaras, and meet this country first. Travel the length and breadth of the country, and when you meet the country, meet the people, meet the rivers, meet the temples, meet the churches, meet the mosques, and you become a traveler first. Then things
fantastic. Fantastic. On that brilliant note, I think this I'll call it an end to this session. Who you heard today is over 200 years of collective experience, and I don't think you could have got any more. I mean, this is almost like a classroom. It's like I said before. It is volumes of experience speaking to you in every aspect. And like Mr. Carr said, I think you need to travel and become a traveler first to understand the country and understand the industry you will be entering into. Thank you so much for listening in. Thank you very much. Big thanks to all the panelists.
And I'm highly thankful to all our eminent panelists for their insightful and thoughtful addresses, and also to the viewers of this session. I'm sure that the takeaways of the session will enthuse confidence among students and young professionals during the current testing times towards the new normal. We have a surprise for you all attendees. Scan the QR code on your screens with your mobile phones and answer 10 questions in 10 minutes. You will get to win prizes and surprise gifts. And I shall see you.